My name is Luna Ford. I'm 41 years old, and until 8 months ago, I believed that if something mattered, you showed it with consistency, not hashtags. I grew up before everything needed an audience, before moments were filtered and curated for strangers. I have social media accounts, sure, but I post maybe once every few weeks. A photo of the '67 Mustang I've been restoring in my garage, a custom dining table I finished for a client. Real things, tangible things. My life happens where my hands are, not where my phone is. That's probably why Evan Hale fascinated me so much at first. He was 15 years younger than me, all energy and polish, with that effortless confidence people develop when they've grown up being seen. We met at a mutual friend's barbecue late last summer. I remember thinking he was just being polite when he asked about the wood shop behind my house, but he listened, really listened, asked questions, laughed at my stories, told me I had the calmest voice he'd ever heard. He was beautiful, yes, but it was the way he made me feel unhurried that pulled me in. The first few months were easy, natural. We hiked early mornings, cooked late dinners, spent weekends at my lake cabin. I introduced him to my friends, my sister, even my parents. Evan charmed everyone. He knew how to read a room, how to make people feel interesting. He also took photos constantly. At first, I thought it was sweet. He'd snap pictures of our food, our walks, the lake at sunset, sometimes selfies of us together. I didn't love being photographed, but I didn't mind. I trusted him. What I didn't notice, at least not right away, was what never appeared online. Despite posting daily, sometimes hourly, Evan never posted a single photo that included me. His Instagram was full of gym shots, solo coffee runs, boys' nights, aesthetic sunsets, captions about independence, freedom, living life on his own terms. I told myself it didn't matter. Social media wasn't my world. Maybe he was private. Maybe this was just how his generation worked. But then I overheard his friends joking about his mystery woman at a party. "She's not a secret," Evan laughed. "I just keep my personal life offline." That sounded reasonable, except everything else in his life was online. By month 6, the silence felt louder than words. I'd watch him document everything, from his morning routine to his nighttime skincare, but never me, never us, not even a shadow, not even an arm in frame. And for the first time in my adult life, I felt invisible while standing right beside someone. I didn't say anything yet. I waited, because sometimes the most revealing answers come when you let people keep talking. The thing about being invisible is you don't notice it all at once. It's not a single moment where someone says you don't matter. It's the slow accumulation of little absences. The way you're never mentioned in stories. The way your name never comes up when they're making plans. The way you can be sitting next to them, sharing a meal, sharing a bed, and still feel like you're watching their life from the outside. I tried to be mature about it. I tried to be modern about it. I even tried to be amused. "Maybe you're just not an Instagram girlfriend," my friend Tessa joked once, sipping wine at my kitchen island while Evan was outside helping my neighbor jumpstart her car. "Maybe you're too real." I laughed because it sounded like a compliment. But the truth was, it didn't feel like a compliment. It felt like an excuse I kept handing myself so I wouldn't have to face the obvious. And then came the Sunday that made it impossible to keep pretending. It was one of those days that should have been memory perfect, the kind you'd expect to see framed in a hallway years later. We went to the farmer's market in the morning, weaving through stalls of honey jars and fresh bread. Evan insisted on taking photos of everything. The peaches stacked in neat pyramids, the bouquet of wildflowers he bought for my dining table, the little old dog in a sweater that belonged on a greeting card. After that, we came back to my place. I showed him how to use my lathe. He'd been begging to learn for weeks, because apparently woodworking was hot. I rolled my eyes and told him if he lost a finger, he was explaining it to his mother. He leaned in close, smiling. "I'll be careful, Luna. I like my fingers." The way he said it made me laugh despite myself. By the time the wooden bowl was finished, a little uneven but honestly impressive for a first try, he was grinning like a kid. Sawdust on his shirt, hair messy, eyes bright. He snapped a selfie with the bowl held up like a trophy, then another, this time pulling me into the frame. "Hold still," he said. "You look good like this." I did hold still, because I wanted to believe him. That night, we tried a new bistro downtown, the kind with dim lighting and drinks that cost too much. Evan took photos of the cocktail, the appetizer, the candle on the table, the street outside. I watched him through the warm glow, thinking, if he can capture everything, why can't he capture us? Back home, he took a shower while I cleaned up. His iPad was on my coffee table charging. I wasn't snooping. I wasn't even touching it. It lit up. A notification. A comment. Chloe Bennett. Living your best single life. So jealous. The name hit me first, because I'd heard it before. Not from Evan directly. He didn't talk about his past much. But I'd caught it once, weeks ago, when his friend Mason had said, "Wait, is Chloe still mad at you?" Evan had replied too quickly, "Chloe's always mad." And then he'd changed the subject. Now, here it was again, right in front of me, on my coffee table, in my house. My stomach tightened as I looked at the screen. A post. Photos from our day. The farmer's market. The peaches. The flowers. The wooden bowl. The cocktail. But not me. Not even the selfie. The caption was worse. Sunday Fun Day Adventures. Hashtag single boy. Summer hashtag living my best life. I stared at it for a long moment, like my eyes might rearrange the words into something less humiliating. They didn't. Evan came out of the bathroom with a towel around his waist, hair damp, humming like nothing in the world could touch him. And something in me went very still. I didn't explode. I didn't throw the iPad. I didn't shout. I just lifted my head and said as evenly as I could, "Hey, I saw your post." He froze for half a second, then smiled like he already knew what I was going to say. "Wasn't the bowl cute?" he asked, walking over. I kept my voice calm. "You used hashtags about being single." His smile dropped instantly. "Were you going through my stuff?" His eyes narrowed, sharp and immediate. Defensive, not confused. Defensive, like he'd been waiting for this moment. I blinked once. No, it lit up. A notification came through. "You were staring at my iPad." I saw the comment, and the caption. Evan snatched the iPad off the table, holding it like I'd tried to steal it. "Luna, seriously? It's hashtags." "It's not just hashtags," I said. "It's the fact that we spent the entire day together and you posted it like you were alone." He let out an exaggerated sigh, like I was exhausting him. "Oh my God." That tone. The one that makes you feel small for asking to be treated like you exist. "Therefore engagement," he said. "It's not that deep." I stared at him. 8 months, Evan, not one photo of us. You post every day." He shrugged. "So?" "So it looks like you're single." "That's not what it looks like. That's what you're choosing to see," he snapped. I kept my voice steady, but my chest was hot. "Your friend just commented, living your best single life. That's not me imagining things." His eyes flicked, just briefly, like he'd been caught. Then he recovered. "Chloe's dramatic," he said quickly. "She comments dumb stuff sometimes." I felt my throat tighten. "Chloe?" He hesitated. "She's an old friend." "Your ex," I said, because I wasn't guessing. I was watching his body language say it before his mouth did. He rolled his eyes. "Yes, okay, my ex, but she's irrelevant." "No," I said softly. "What's irrelevant is me, apparently." Evan scoffed. "You're seriously making this into a whole thing." "I'm asking one question," I said. "Why am I never included?" He laughed once. Short. Cold. "Because not everything has to be about you." The words landed like a slap. My heart didn't break loudly. It broke quietly, like something cracking deep underwater. I stood there, staring at the man I'd fed, hosted, loved, introduced to my parents, and realized he could erase me with a swipe of his thumb and still look me in the face like I was the problem. "You're being weirdly obsessive," he continued, voice rising. "It's just social media. Who cares? You're 41, Luna. Why are you acting like a teenager?" There it was. The weapon. My age. I didn't flinch, but I felt it. I watched him for a long second, then said very calmly, "Pack your things." He blinked. "What?" "I think you should go." Evan stared like he couldn't process that I meant it. "You're kicking me out over Instagram?" I shook my head slowly. "Not over Instagram. Over respect. Over honesty. Over the fact that you want a life where I don't exist." His face hardened. "That's ridiculous." Maybe it was. But I was too old for games. Evan grabbed his jacket, his shoes, his phone, moving faster now, anger replacing disbelief. "You're going to regret this," he muttered, shoving his feet into his sneakers. "You're making a mistake." I didn't respond. Because arguing with someone who's determined to misunderstand you is like screaming into a pillow and expecting the room to hear. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard my framed photo on the hallway wall rattled. The house went silent. I stood there for a moment, my hands at my sides, and waited for the rush of tears. They didn't come. What came instead was something colder. Clarity. Within an hour, my phone started buzzing. Text after text. "Evan, you're seriously overreacting." "Evan, it's not that deep." "Evan, you're insecure and it's unattractive." "Evan, Call me when you calm down. I read them all without replying. Then I did the thing I should have done months ago. I looked deeper. It's strange how clarity feels in the body. Not like anger, not like heartbreak. It feels quiet. That night, after Evan's messages stopped coming and my house settled back into its familiar stillness, I made tea and sat at my kitchen table with my laptop open. The same table where Evan had eaten breakfast that morning. The same chair where he'd laughed and told me he loved how grounded I was. I wasn't looking for proof. I was looking for peace. And I'd learned the hard way that peace usually comes with answers. Evan wasn't careless. He was curated. His online presence was polished, strategic. But there are blind spots when someone believes their story is airtight, especially when they assume the person they're lying to won't look too closely. I didn't need to guess where to start. Months ago, my younger cousin had shown me how dating apps worked, laughing as she swiped left and right like it was a game. Out of curiosity, I'd created a profile back then, never used it, never matched with anyone, but the interface stuck with me. That familiarity made everything else easy. I didn't search his name at first. I filtered by age, location, interests he'd casually mentioned, gym, travel, looking for fun connections. It took less than 5 minutes. There he was. Different username, same face, photos I recognized immediately, taken in my house. One of him leaning against the kitchen counter, wearing the black t-shirt I'd bought him for his birthday. Another sitting on my couch, the throw blanket my sister gave me draped casually over his lap. One photo was taken in my backyard. Golden hour lighting, catching his jaw just right. The bio made my stomach drop. Single, living life freely, open to seeing where things go. Updated 3 days ago. I clicked through. Another app, same thing, slightly different wording, same photos. And then the messages. Dozens of them. Flirtation, compliments, plans. One name appeared again and again. Chloe. Not buried in the past. Not an old chapter. Active, recent, intimate. I read through the timestamps, my hands steady, my breath even. Some of them were from nights he'd been in my bed. One message sent at 11:47 p.m., just 2 weeks earlier, made my chest tighten. Chloe. Can't wait to finally see you again. Evan. Soon. I promise. I remembered that night. He'd rolled toward me afterward, kissed my shoulder, and whispered, I'm so happy here. The realization didn't hit like a wave. It settled like ice. I screenshotted everything. Not in a rush, not shaking, just methodical. Profile pages, message threads, dates, times, proof stacked neatly on my phone like bricks. When I was done, I closed my laptop and sat there for a long moment, staring at nothing. I didn't feel dramatic. I felt done. There was no urge to confront him, no desire to explain myself, no need to hear his version of the story, because whatever version he offered would only be another edit. I blocked his number first, then his social media, then his email. Every door he could knock on, I closed. Next, I opened my banking app. The luxury resort reservation I'd booked for his upcoming birthday, canceled. The $2,200 deposit refunded without issue. The custom watch I'd commissioned, order stopped. The designer jacket already wrapped in my closet returned the next morning. Each action felt less like revenge and more like reclaiming oxygen. I changed my home security code, revoked his access to my streaming accounts. Small things, practical things. Things that said, this is over. What I didn't do was post anything. I didn't vent online. I didn't message his friends. I didn't leak screenshots. I disappeared, the same way he'd kept me out of his life. 3 days passed, then 5, a week. Through mutual friends, I heard the narrative he'd started spinning, that I'd lost it, that I'd had some kind of breakdown over Instagram, that I was unstable, insecure, obsessive. I didn't correct them. The truth doesn't need defending when it's patient. On the 10th day, my doorbell rang. I checked the security camera out of habit and felt my stomach tighten, not with fear, but with disbelief. Evan stood on my porch. Beside him was an older woman, with his eyes and his posture. Her hair was pulled back neatly, her expression tight with concern. His mother. I almost didn't answer. But curiosity, quiet, dangerous curiosity, won. I opened the door, but stayed firmly in the doorway, one hand on the frame. Luna, Evan said immediately, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. Please, we just want to talk. The woman stepped forward, extending her hand. I'm Margaret, Evan's mother. I'm so sorry we're meeting like this. I didn't take her hand. That makes 2 of us, I said calmly. Evan shot me a look. See, this is what I mean. You're being cold. I looked at him for a long moment. No, I said, I'm being finished. Margaret glanced between us. Evan told me there was a misunderstanding about some photos, that things got blown out of proportion. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. May I show you something? I asked her. Evan's eyes widened. Luna, that's private. Not when it's public, I replied. I handed Margaret my phone. Dating profiles, messages, captions, proof. Her face changed as she scrolled. Confusion, then shock, then something like quiet disappointment. Oh, Evan, she whispered. He reached for the phone. Mom, those are old. She held it away. These are dated last week. He swallowed. Chloe's just a friend. I met his eyes. Then why were you planning to meet her while sleeping next to me? Silence. Heavy, absolute. Margaret handed my phone back, her hands trembling slightly. I think we should go. No, Evan said quickly, panic breaking through. Luna, please, I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting your keys, I said. This was a choice, repeatedly. Margaret stepped closer, her voice gentle. I understand you're hurt, but this isn't about being hurt, I said quietly. It's about self-respect. I looked at Evan one last time. You didn't just lie to me, I continued. You tried to convince me I was crazy for noticing. I closed the door. Not slammed. Not angrily. Firmly. Through the camera, I watched Margaret place a hand on her son's arm and guide him back to the car as he stood there, stunned. As they drove away, something inside me loosened. That night, my phone buzzed again. Messages from his friends this time, calling me heartless, saying I'd humiliated him. I didn't reply. Instead, I sent one message to the friend who'd introduced us. Luna, you might want to compare Evan's single posts with the dates you saw us together. That was all. The truth shows up eventually. And when it does, it doesn't whisper. The aftermath didn't arrive all at once. It moved quietly, like fog rolling in when no one's looking. The morning after Evan showed up with his mother, my phone was still. No new messages, no accusations, no apologies. Just a strange, unfamiliar silence where his presence used to be. I made coffee, watered my plants, went about my day. It wasn't numbness, it was resolution. By noon, though, the quiet started cracking. First came a text from Tessa. Tessa, hey, are you okay? Things are kind of blowing up. I didn't ask what she meant. I already knew. I spent years working in a male-dominated industry. I'd learned early on that when a woman walks away without explaining herself, people rush to fill the silence with whatever story makes them most comfortable. Apparently, Evan's version had been unraveling faster than he expected. Jason, the friend who introduced us, called that afternoon. His voice sounded tight, embarrassed. I owe you an apology, he said. I didn't know he was doing all that. I know, I replied. You couldn't have. I saw the screenshots, he continued quietly. Someone showed me, and yeah, it's bad. I closed my eyes briefly. I didn't send them around. I know you didn't. His mom did. Not intentionally. She was shaken. She called his aunt. The aunt told someone else. You know how it goes. I did. Truth has a way of escaping even when you don't set it free. Within hours, the messages changed tone. The same people who'd called me cold now sent awkward check-ins. Some apologized outright. Others said nothing at all. Evan's Instagram went dark for 2 days. Then it reappeared. But something had shifted. The single boy captions disappeared. The comments were fewer. Brands he'd tagged stopped responding. The illusion cracked. And once that happens, people start asking questions they didn't care about before. A week later, a certified envelope arrived. Inside was a handwritten letter. Evan's handwriting, careful, deliberate, probably rewritten 3 times. He said he was sorry, that he'd panicked, that he'd been confused about his feelings, that he never meant to hurt me, that the dating apps didn't mean anything. Tucked behind the letter was a check. The exact amount I'd refunded from the resort reservation. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I needed the money, because of what it represented. An attempt to settle something emotional with something transactional. I tore the check in half. Then again. I placed the pieces back into the envelope and wrote 3 words on a blank sheet of paper. My silence isn't for sale. I mailed it back. No return address. Another week passed. Then 2. Life didn't magically become perfect, but it became lighter. I finished restoring the Mustang. Took it out on long drives with no destination. Reconnected with friends I'd unintentionally sidelined while trying to make space for Evan. I didn't stalk his page, but people talked. They always do. Apparently, his engagement dropped. Followers unfollowed. Sponsorships stalled. The same people who'd loved his authentic single lifestyle felt misled when they realized it overlapped with a very real relationship. Authenticity doesn't survive exposure. One afternoon, I received an email from his mother, Margaret. Short, direct, sincere. She apologized, not for showing up, but for raising a man who thought erasure was easier than honesty. She said she'd insisted Evan move back home for a while, that he was reevaluating his priorities. I replied politely, briefly. I wished her well. I didn't ask about him, because closure isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you decide you already have. 3 weeks after everything ended, I attended a furniture exhibition downtown. A client had invited me. I almost didn't go, but I did. And that's where I met Daniel. He admired my work before he admired me. Asked thoughtful questions. Listened without waiting for his turn to speak. When he asked if he could take a photo of the table I'd designed, and then asked if I'd like to be in the frame with it, I laughed. Yes, I said, I'd like that. He posted it that same night. Tagged me. Introduced me in the caption as the woman who built this. It wasn't about Instagram. It never was. It was about being acknowledged, in public and in private, online and off. A month later, another letter arrived from Evan. Longer this time. No money, just accountability. He admitted his behavior had been manipulative, that he'd wanted the benefits of a relationship without the responsibility of being seen in one, that he was starting therapy, that he understood if I never responded. I appreciated the honesty. I didn't reopen the door. Some apologies arrived too late, not because they're insincere, but because the lesson has already been learned. And then life did something quietly ironic. The custom watch I'd canceled months earlier, the jeweler emailed me. He'd already started the piece and asked if I still wanted it. I told him yes, but to change the engraving. Not to a memory with Evan. To the coordinates of my parents' lake house, the place I spent summers growing up, the place where I learned what steady love looked like. Last weekend, I gave that watch to Daniel. Not as a symbol of forever, just as a gesture of now. Evan's Instagram has changed, I hear. Fewer posts, more reflective captions, no more single boy anything. Good. Growth should be quiet. As for me, I'm no longer invisible in someone else's story. I'm the author of my own. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is walk away without explaining yourself, because the right people already understand.